Hello, my name is Haikal Aiman. My supervisor is Professor Dr. SHUKOR bin Abdul RAZAK. This is my video presentation for PSM1. The title is Web Application for Concentrated Social Media Application Using Algorithm Based on User Engagement. This presentation will be split into 5 chapters. Chapter 1 will cover problem background, aim, objective, and scope. Chapter 2 will cover current system analysis, comparison, and technology use. Chapter 3 will cover methodology, justification, and system requirements. Chapter 4 will cover requirement analysis, project design, database design, and interface design. Chapter 5 will be the conclusion, achievements, and suggested plans. This video will discuss about a website that takes post content from different social media, filters it, and sorts them into one feed based on user engagement algorithm. In today's world, social media plays a huge role in many people's life. Many are using it not only to socialize, as the name suggests, but for entertainment and news source as well. Looking at this infographic about social media trends in 2020 by Global Web Index, there are a few important points. Globally, users spend an average of 2 hours and 22 minutes per day on social networks. Meanwhile, in Malaysia, the average time is just under 3 hours per day. The most common reasons stated by users for spending time on social medias are to find funny or entertaining content, to fill up spare time, and to stay up to date with the news and current events. Staying up to date with current trends, viral videos, and internet culture is important. However, the issue emerges when people spend too much time on social media. The project aim is simple: to develop a website that takes posts and content from different social media platforms, filters it, and sorts them into one feed based on user engagement algorithm. The objective for this project are to create a website that makes the social media experience more efficient, to remove unwanted and unnecessary content that might distract users, to compile essential content from multiple social media pages that the users follow, subscribes, friends with, or joined into one feed. And the last one is to reduce time spent switching between social media tabs or logging in different accounts. And here is the scope for the project. First, the system will be developed as a web application. The feed will focus on compiling, sorting, and filtering the content displayed on the feed, and the system will only have some basic functions of the other social media platforms: posting, replying comments, and likes, for example. Now in chapter 2, literature review. In this chapter, there will be two main parts: the existing system as case study, mainly Reddit, Twitter, and Pinterest. Then a comparison will be made on each of them. Then there will be an overview of the technology used for the project. There is no current system that quite centralizes the multiple social media content into one platform. The closest thing that this system can compare to is the already existing common social media. The most reasonable thing to do is to look at already successful systems, examine their algorithms, and make them successful, then optimize and tweak them to fulfill the objectives of this project. Reddit, a social news aggregation, online content rating, and discussion website, is the first social media platform to which this project is being compared to. The main advantages between Reddit compared to other social medias is the ability to change how a user's feed is sorted. The main limitations, however, is that the content is limited to what subreddit the users has followed. Users will miss out on important or emergency news if said users is not a part of the subreddits. Next, Twitter is a microblogging and social media service where users post and interact with posts known as tweets. The main advantages here is that Twitter recommends topics and accounts in the feed that it thinks the user might be interested in. And trending hashtags and topics always being on screen is also a great thing to have when browsing through. The negative part about Twitter is that there is no way to sort the feed. Users are stuck with what the system shows. This gets even more confusing when the feed being dubbed as timeline are not sorted from the most recent post. Next, Pinterest is an image sharing and social media networking site that allows users to save and find informations through pinboards made out of photos, animated GIFs, and short videos. Here, the main advantages is that it puts as many content in the main page as possible It recommends content based on what users have searched on the website. However, putting a lot of content in one page can also have a downside. When the main feed has pictures, GIF, or short videos, all with different size and orientations, it can be seen as clutter and not pleasing. Some details can also be overlooked. Now, from the previous subtopic of discussion of Reddit, Twitter, and Pinterest, there are a few comparisons to be made, from the layout of the site, how the content is shown, to the amount of engagement of each system. Here are the table depicting the few differences between case studies. Now, the technology used. This is to elaborate about the technologies that will be used in the project, because it is important to understand how the system will run and the technologies that run behind it. The 5 main ones here are Firebase, REST API, Reddit API, Twitter API, and Pinterest API. So first, Firebase is a suite of building, improving, and growing applications. The tools it provides covers a lot of services and developers would otherwise have to build themselves. Analytics, authentication, databases, configuration, file storage, push messaging, and so on are all part of this. REST API is a type of API that adheres to the REST architectural style restrictions and allows interactions with RESTful web services. This will be used to handle HTTPS requests. Now, Reddit API, Twitter API, and Pinterest API essentially do the same thing. They pull content from their respective platforms to be used on the web application. Now, in chapter 3, this chapter will elaborate about the choice of methodology, the justification of the technology use, and system requirements. So the methodology chosen is DevOps. It is one of the most popular development methodologies being used today. The lifecycle is siloed into two departments, the development and operations, hence the name. These two departments work together in a single lifecycle loop. And the reason for choosing the DevOps methodology is because it is the perfect methodology for this project due to its nature of continuous integration. The system needs us to sync and optimize data from all different social medias all into one. Using the DevOps methodology, it enables us to add more social media platforms to link with our platform in the future whilst having the site operational. Now, there are 8 phases in the DevOps cycle. Planning covers everything from task management, defining system requirements, and scheduling each phases of the project. This is PSM1 for my case, for this project's case. And code is where we start to code the implementation of each APIs and features of the web application. Build is where manual code review happens. Once a task is finished, a commit request will be issued and the code will be manually reviewed. This will trigger the code base to build and identify any regression within itself. If the build fails, the code will need to be reviewed once more, and then the cycle goes on until the next phase. Testing is where a system will run on a new environment or user tested. Release is where web app is ready for deployment and can be fully operational whilst taking input from test users. Deploy is where the build is ready and released into production. Operate is where operation team will be the most important, ensuring that everything is in working order. Now, monitoring is the last element of the DevOps cycle. By gathering data, giving insight on customer behavior, performance, problems, this phase expands on the consumer input offered in the operate phase. XAMPP is for, so here we have the technology used and its descriptions. So XAMPP is for local hosting web application and development. Firebase is for user authentication and database, and REST API is for managing HTTP requests. Twitter APIs, Reddit API, and Pinterest API is for importing data from their respective platforms, and GitHub is for storing repository, code review, builds, and issue tracking. Next, in system requirements analysis, there are 2 types, hardware and software. Here are the tables for each requirements divided for consumer and the developer. Moving on to the next chapter. This chapter will be about requirement analysis and system design, a critical part to the success or failure of the system. In requirement analysis, the basic system behavior is defined by functional requirements. Meanwhile, non-functional requirements explain how the system should accomplish something. Here are the functional requirements, such as user should be able to register, log in, log out, sync and unsync accounts, interact with the feed like comment and like. User should be able to post into multiple social media platforms through the web application. The web application should be able to sort the feed using the algorithm to minimize user time. The web application should be able to pull information from sync social medias, and the web application should be able to detect and prioritize more important content to the top of the feed. And here are the non-functional requirements. The web application should be able to run on any desktop browser. The web application should be able to dynamically adjust the proportions of the content based on the window size, and the web application should be able to utilize other public social media respectives API. There will be 5 use cases as seen on the diagram and table here. Use case 1 is register and login. Use case 2 is sync account. Use case 3 is like and comment. Use case 4 is post, and use case 5 is viewing feed. Here we have the activity diagram and the sequence diagram for use case number 1. There will be other activity diagrams and sequence diagram respective of their use cases. First, for this one, so the flow goes like this. User opens the website, system displays login or registration page, user enters login details. If details are valid, redirect to home page. If registration details are valid, redirect to login page. If the input is invalid, the database returns a false statement and it redirects them back to the start of the page, and it displays an alert for an invalid input. For the second use case, it goes in normal flow. It goes like the user opens an account on the settings page, system displays account on the settings page, and then users select which social media account they would like to sync to the website. The web application requests access to said account, redirects them to the social media's login page. Then users enter login information, database updates the synced account, and it reloads the setting page, updating the icons and the colors of the synced account. Next, in use case 3, the users click like or comment on a post. The system then updates the information accordingly, and then the system sends the information through the appropriate API. Here in use case 4, the user creates a post. User selects to which social media to share the post. Then the system will update the user's post in the database. Then the system will send the information through the appropriate API. Then it will display the new post on the web application. And the last one, when the user is loading homepage, the system will view the synced accounts the user has, and then the system will fetch new posts from the synced accounts. Then it will sort and filter the post from most importance. Then the system will generate and display feed in the homepage. This web application has a quite simple system architecture. For the most part, it's only the database communicating with the user and device, and the database will then pull post, account details, and other relevant informations from the social media APIs. The reason for the extra boxes on the diagram not connected is for the sole reason that the system will implement more social medias onto the platform. This is possible since the methodology of DevOps allows for continuous integration while the system is already running. Here's the class diagram for the system, consisting of classes of new post, user, synced account, Pinterest account, Twitter account, Reddit account, pinned tweets, and post. And here is the ERD, where the database is split into a few different classes. Next, the The interface is the front end of the system. Basically, this is what the user will see when visiting the system. So as you can see now, it's on the login page. Here's the registration page. This is the home feed interface. On the top right of each post, there will be an icon of the platform where the post came from, and the basic needs to interact with the post, such as comment, like, and save images for Pinterest. Now, this is the page for creating a new post. Users are able to share posts to different social medias at once. Now, in the account settings page, this is where users may sync into their accounts. Now, moving on to chapter 5, the conclusion for the system. Chapter 5 is regarding the conclusion of the system, managing expectation by reviewing the purpose, objectives, and the importance of the project. These are all the achievements so far. Overall, whilst none of the objectives have been completed yet, however, the steps to do so has already started, leading to a better chance for the system in the future to come. The next part of the development is to implement and test the system. The next part of this project is implementation and testing, which will start in PSM2. To make sure the project will reach its objective, it is required to have all the technologies and skills ready before the next phase. The best way to do so is to research the necessary knowledge and train the necessary skills before PSM2 in the coming year to ensure success. That's all from my presentation. Thank you.